Want to improve shoulder function and release back tension? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name is Shane Heins, Director of Fitness Education for Onnit, here to take you through the Kettlebell Windmill exercise, an old-time strongman movement made modern for any and all humans looking to be strong, mobile, and pain-free. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. The Kettlebell Windmill is essentially a hinge, i.e. what we do when we bend over to pick up something off of the ground. Except instead of doing it forward and back up, we're coming at it from the side. And instead of primarily picking a load up off of the ground, which you can still do with a windmill, the main focus is moving a load being balanced overhead. The position of our body and the placement of the weight turns this into an incredible full body exercise that, when done safely and effectively, improves mobility, stability, and overall strength for both athletic performance and healthy day-to-day living. We live predominantly in a front-to-back orientation. Tension along the lateral line is a positive adaptation and supports stability as we move. But we start to see diminishing returns when that tension over-dominates. Tightness laterally becomes a major contributor to limited function and pain in the shoulders, the lower back, the hips, and your knees. Debilitating pain from sciatica, anyone? Here are a few of the big bang benefits you get from the Kettlebell Windmill. 1. Pliable strength. It opens up the side and releases the tension, thereby promoting elasticity of tissues through the balance of elongation and contraction, allowing you to bend and move without breaking. Number 2, increased rotational access. Opening up the side is key to improving rotation through the body. And because we are essentially rotational in nature, this is huge for spine health, movement mechanics, and enhancing performance. Number 3, improved shoulder function. Shoulder issues often arise from disharmony between mobility and stability, impacting not only overhead movements, but plenty that we do from down below, right down to something as basic as push-ups. Kettlebell Windmill helps address these imbalances. Number 4, slowing down the aging process. As we age, loss of access to overhead range of motion is one of the primary sources of ongoing decline. Not being able to reach overhead minimizes how often that we extend back and laterally, which is essential for long-term health. When I'm talking full body, I'm not kidding. The Kettlebell Windmill hits the muscles of the neck, the shoulders, the back, including your traps, deltoids, rhomboids, lats. It hits the core, especially your obliques, the hips, really moving in and getting the glutes, as well as hamstrings, groin, and calves. We wouldn't be on it if we didn't get you ready and prepared to do the exercises as safely and effectively as possible. So we're going to start with a few mobility drills to prepare. First is going to be the side hip root. I want you to have your feet hip distance apart. You're going to take your hands out, and then we're going to take your right hip and you're going to sit back at a 45-degree angle with your arms going out to the left at a 45-degree angle. Bring your shoulders down and sit with a soft bend in both knees. Draw up like you're pulling something towards you, and then go to the opposite side, out at a 45-degree angle and up. Out and up, out and up. And what can happen with this one is a tendency to overreach. That will stretch in different ways, but right now we want to get really deep into the glute and through the side of your leg. So really bend in those knees and stay upright as you do so. Number 2, we're going to start to move up from the hip and the glutes up into our lats and opening up the latissimus on the sides of our body and our back. From here, we're going to go into a child's pose, which is on hands and knees. From here, sit your butt back slightly. You're going to take your left hand out towards the left at a 45-degree angle. You're going to take your right hand out also at a 45-degree angle, and you're gonna reach it a little bit further. From here, we're going to tip up onto the knife edge of the hand, and then think about sitting those hips down and back as you rotate to your left. And up, down, inhale up. So what we're doing is we're really planting the edge of that hand in and finding that length all the way through your arm, all the way through your lats, down towards your hips as you pull and sit those hips down, keeping the elbow off of the ground. That will activate differently, looking towards that opposite side. And then, of course, do the same on the other side. Number 3, for your arm screw, we're moving up through the body and into the shoulder. There's going to be some rotation in this movement, so we want to prepare your shoulders for that. The arm screw, we're going to have hands out to the side, palms facing up. You're going to take your right shoulder. I want you to bring it towards your cheek and then roll the shoulder over. Rather than think of roll over with your hand, think roll over with your shoulder. And then turn your hand until the palm is facing up. Unrotate. And over. And unwind. So we're alternating one side to the other. Now we can get a little bit deeper with this by taking the arms, pretending you've got 2 ropes tied around your hands and they're being pulled apart in opposite directions. Up and over. And then you can go even a little bit deeper as you come down, and you'll start to feel that rotational pull through the side of your leg, into your glute, and into your side body, which is all tied to preparing for the windmill. Take these 3 drills, do 10 repetitions each way or per side, and roll through those for 3 rounds. While the kettlebell windmill is a great movement, it isn't always accessible to everybody, but we're going to start with the standard variation, and then we'll look at some other options to help you get there. First, we're going to start with our feet. Your feet are going to be between hip and shoulder distance apart. You're going to take your feet to a 45-degree angle from the direction that you're standing. Next is going to be your hip. Now remember, this is a hip hinge. So we're hinging at the hips as opposed to bending in our spine for this movement. So I really want you to think, similarly to what we did with the side hip root, you're going to push that hip out nice and strong. Now, for a standard windmill, the knees stay locked. Again, that requires a little more range through the hips, but we'll get to some other options. So your knees are locked, you're pushing that hip out. As you start to push out the hip, for now just slightly, you're going to use the natural rotation that starts to come through your body and press the kettlebell overhead. Now we're looking at the kettlebell being over our base of support, not when we're straight up and down, but rather when we're going to start going into that windmill. We have a sense of what that feels like through our feet with a little more weight on the back leg. From here, I want you to think about creating space between your face or your head and your arm. Don't be all bunched up here. Create space, pack that shoulder down to begin with. And then your eyes. Your eyes are going to be looking at the kettlebell, because whenever we have anything overhead, especially if the shoulder isn't strong and stable just yet, when we're here, it's harder to gauge where that is in space. Put your eyes on it, and it'll be a much more direct line of connection to where you are. Now, you can stand up straight and have a sense of, all right, this is my starting position. What's going to happen from here as we go down, I want you to think, kick the hip out and back slightly and drive your knuckles to the ceiling. You see, this is what you're going to do the whole time. You're going to keep driving your knuckles actually up to the ceiling as you come down to the bottom position and then go up. What we're doing by driving the knuckles up is actually creating a little bit of space inside your shoulder joint for your shoulder blade to rotate slightly. If it's locked down the whole time, then we are at risk of pulling that kettlebell down with us if we don't have that range. We got to work with our body, not against it. And lastly, as we're going down, you're going to take your opposite hand, in this case, my right hand. So if I'm standing straight and I have the kettlebell in my left hand, My feet are pointed to the right. I'm going to take my right hand as I kick my hip out to the left, and I'm going to use it as a guardrail down towards the floor. Now, a general end point that people work towards is fingers on the floor. As you get more range of motion and more stability and strength to handle it, you may eventually end up with your palm on the floor. To get out of this, don't think about forcing your way up through the side. I want you to think simply, drive up through your fist. Driving up through your fist as if you've got a cord anchored around your wrist, and pulling up will help the connection all the way down through the rest of your body, activating what needs to be activated for a really strong kettlebell windmill. Now we're going to look at a few variations to help you access the standard windmill, because it isn't simply a do or do not. In this one, there actually is a little bit of trying different variations that let you be successful. So from here, we're going to look at bent leg and bent arm variations to this. So the first thing we're going to do is set up where we have our kettlebell, and we're going to set up the way we did for our windmill. Feet are off, thinking about kicking that hip out, and then I'm going to get the arm overhead. Now, instead of straight legs, which requires a little more range through your hamstrings and through your glute and side body, we're actually going to bend both knees. So you're going to feel that when you kick your hip out, you're going to allow your knees to bend. Again, similar to the side hip root that we did in our mobility warm-up for this. So I'm going to kick that hip out and bend my knees, which will give me greater range to hinge through my hip as I glide and slide that hand down to the bottom. Now, this variation is much less taxing on the side of my body than it was before. And I could maybe get down to the floor, so I can work with this bent leg variation. From here, still driving the knuckles up to the sky, I will then push through the ground and eventually lock the legs out as I tuck my pelvis under overhead for a good strong overhead position. The other is bent arm. So the overhead position may be a little bit tough, but that doesn't mean that the benefits of the rest of the windmill aren't beneficial for you to take advantage of. So what we can do is go into a slight variation, which is along the lines of a bent arm press, another old-time strongman movement used for strength. So what we're going to do in the same setup is my kettlebell is in the rack, and rather than put it up overhead, I'm going to open my elbow up. So it's already to the side, which means in line with my torso that is rotating as I come down. And from here, where these knuckles are at height, I'm going to kick that hip out. I can do it straight leg or bent. And then as I start to go down, I'm going to think about keeping that kettlebell at the same height as I go down. Once I achieve lockout, then I can work on going overhead and seeing what my range is up above. Because for a lot of us, having our arm at this angle, i.e. from here, right? Thinking the angle with my elbow, at this angle is a lot easier than putting it overhead. This is another avenue to work into a full overhead position with your kettlebell as you're working the windmill and getting towards the standard. Sometimes you don't feel focused and alert in the gym, and your workout can suffer as a result. New Alpha Brain pre-workout was designed specifically for athletes and gym goers and supports focus, power, and endurance. It's the ultimate way to charge up your mind and your body. Use the coupon code GETONNIT to get 10% off Alpha Brain pre-workout at onnit.com. Focus. Like, really focus. Like, keep an eye on that kettlebell. Don't let it turn you into the toppling tower of Pisa, please. Now let's get back to our video. Starting out, go light. General recommendation, if you're just starting out with this and haven't trained often, women, 6 to 8 kilograms. Men, 8 to 12 kilograms. If you train regularly and have decent overhead shoulder range and strength, women, 8 to 12 kilograms, and men, 12 to 16 kilograms. But too light may not give you enough feedback. You have to see what works best for you. Eventually, you can build up to much heavier weights as you challenge yourself, but take it gradually. This is meant to support health and function, not speed up pain and injury. In the end, the weight that you use is specific to you and where you're at on your training journey. To get a more in-depth look at what kettlebell weights are best for you, check out our video, What is the Best Kettlebell Weight to Start? Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos. And for a full article on how to do the kettlebell windmill exercise, see the link in the description below. Thanks again.